The story begins in 1950. A car factory is manufacturing several vehicles. One mechanic is working on a special red car. While inspecting the engine, the hood suddenly slams shut and badly injures his hand. He is quickly taken to a doctor for treatment. Later, another mechanic comes to inspect the same car. While sitting inside, the ash from his cigar accidentally falls onto the seat. Several hours pass and the factory closes for the day. Everyone leaves and heads home. However, when the supervisor arrives, he notices that the lights of the red car are still on. As soon as he opens the door, the dead body of the mechanic with the cigar suddenly falls out. 28 years later, we meet a student named Dennis. He drives his car to pick up another boy named Arnie. Arnie is a quiet and studious teenager. Although Dennis and Arnie have very different personalities, they become close friends. It is their first day of school. After arriving, they place their new books inside their lockers. At that moment, Arnie notices a new girl named Lee. Her beauty immediately attracts the attention of nearly every boy in school. Later that day, Dennis and Arnie are driving back home when Arnie suddenly notices a car parked outside a house. He immediately tells Dennis to stop the car. As they move closer, they discover an old red classic car. It is the same red car shown earlier in the factory, but now it is badly damaged and worn out. Even so, Arnie becomes instantly fascinated by it. Just then, the owner of the car, George, walks over to them. He explains that the car is named Christine and once belonged to his brother, who died a few weeks earlier. George wants to get rid of the car quickly, so he agrees to sell it for only $50. Dennis warns Arnie not to waste money on such a broken vehicle and suggests buying a better car instead. However, Arnie ignores the advice and purchases Christine without hesitation. That evening, when he returns home, he tells his parents about buying the car. His mother becomes angry and scolds him for the decision. Still, Arnie does not care because he used his own savings to buy it. His mother refuses to let the car stay at their house. As a result, Arnie and Dennis take Christine to a garage. There, they meet the garage owner, Will, who is a rude and grumpy old man. Despite his attitude, Will allows Arnie to keep the car there. While returning, Dennis asks Arnie why he bought such a terrible car. Arnie replies that he did not choose Christine because Christine chose him. The following day, Dennis waits for Arnie during lunch break. When Arnie does not arrive for a long time, Dennis goes searching for him. He soon finds a bully named Buddy harassing Arnie. When Dennis tries to step in, Buddy throws his lunch onto the floor and pushes Arnie onto him. During the struggle, Arnie's glasses fall off. Buddy then steps on them and crushes them completely. He laughs at Arnie's condition and humiliates him in front of everyone. Seeing the opportunity, Dennis suddenly attacks Buddy. At that moment, Buddy's gang rushes in and brutally beats Dennis. Soon, a teacher arrived and stopped the fight. Arnie told the teacher that Buddy had threatened him with a knife. The teacher ordered Buddy to empty his pockets, and the same knife was discovered there. As a result, Buddy and his friends were sent to the principal's office. Soon after, Buddy was expelled from school. Several weeks passed, and Arnie spent nearly all his time repairing cars. The garage owner eventually hired Arnie to help at the garage and promised to collect spare parts for Christine. Arnie happily accepted the offer and fully devoted himself to fixing vehicles. While working on Christine every day, he slowly became emotionally attached to the car. One evening, Dennis went to meet Arnie because they had not spent time together for a while. He was shocked to see how much Arnie had changed. Arnie was now wearing stylish clothes, no longer needed glasses, and behaved with unusual confidence and aggression. He barely spoke to Dennis before returning to work inside the garage. Later, Arnie's mother tried to stop him from leaving again. However, Arnie ignored her and walked away. His mother then told Dennis that she was deeply worried about both Arnie and Christine. She explained that she had learned the car's previous owner had died from suffocation inside the vehicle. After hearing this, Dennis decided to visit George. George shared the disturbing story of his brother and Christine. He explained that after buying the car, his brother became completely obsessed with it. Eventually, both his wife and daughter lost their lives in the same car. After his brother's death, Christine somehow ended up abandoned in the garage. George then tried to open the car for Dennis, but the moment he touched the handle, the radio suddenly turned on by itself. Terrified by the strange incident, Dennis quickly ran away. The following morning, Dennis arrived at the school stadium for a football match. He was focused on scoring an important goal for his team. Suddenly, he noticed Arnie arriving in Christine. The car now looked completely restored and flawless, surprising everyone around him. Even Dennis and his friends could hardly believe it was the same damaged vehicle. At that moment, Lee stepped out of the car and kissed Arnie in front of everyone. Seeing this made Dennis upset and distracted him during the match. The opposing team quickly took advantage of his lack of focus. One player shoved Dennis hard and stole the ball from him. The impact threw Dennis to the ground with tremendous force. He immediately lost consciousness and suffered serious injuries. Several days later, Dennis woke up in a hospital room. His leg and neck were covered in heavy plastic plaster casts. At that moment, Arnie arrived to visit him. Dennis realized that his friend was changing more and more every day. Only a month earlier, Arnie had been shy, quiet, and obedient to his family. Now he seemed like a completely different person. After a short conversation, Arnie quickly said goodbye and left the hospital. That same evening, he went to the movies with Lee. Later, the two sat together inside Christine and began kissing. As the moment became more intense, Lee suddenly stepped out of the car. Arnie followed her and asked what was wrong. Lee told him that he seemed to love the car more than he loved her. Her words confused Arnie, but he eventually convinced her to get back inside Christine. Just then, the windshield suddenly cracked on its own. Arnie immediately stepped out to inspect the damage. Meanwhile, Lee reached for something to eat inside the car. Suddenly, the radio switched on by itself without anyone touching it. At the same moment, a bright light suddenly flashed from the dashboard. Lee began choking and struggled to breathe properly. Arnie immediately rushed to help her, but the car doors were locked from the inside. In desperation, he tried repeatedly to open the doors from outside, but nothing worked. Just as Lee was close to suffocating, she finally managed to unlock the door herself. A nearby man quickly pulled her out of the car to help her. Seeing this, Arnie angrily attacked the man. However, the man was only trying to save Lee by removing the food stuck in her throat. Eventually, the situation settled down. Arnie later drove Lee back to her house. After stepping out of the car, Lee told him that she no longer wanted to talk to him. Arnie tried to apologize for everything that had happened, but Lee could not forget the terrifying feeling that Christine had tried to kill her. She also believed the car was jealous of her because something always went wrong whenever they spent time together inside it. After hearing her concerns, Arnie realized she was emotionally disturbed by the incident. He calmly told her they would talk again the next day. Arnie then returned to Christine and sat inside the car. However, the engine suddenly refused to start. While speaking to the car, Arnie said that no matter what happened with Lee, he would always love Christine the same way. The moment he turned the key again, the engine instantly started. He drove directly to the garage, parked Christine there, and returned home. A short while later, Buddy and his gang secretly entered the garage. They carried different weapons with them. Within minutes, they completely destroyed Christine. The following day, Arnie somehow managed to make peace with Lee. Together, they went to the garage so Arnie could retrieve his wallet from the car. As soon as they entered, Arnie was horrified to see Christine completely wrecked. Lee asked who could have done such a terrible thing, but instead of answering, Arnie suddenly shouted at her for no reason and told her to leave. Later, Arnie informed his parents about the destruction of the car. They tried to comfort him and promised they would buy him another vehicle. However, this only made Arnie even angrier. He believed his parents hated Christine just like Lee did. Arnie even blamed them for what had happened to the car. He claimed that if they had allowed him to keep Christine at home, none of this would have happened. His anger grew stronger and he began insulting his parents. Afterward, he stormed toward his room. His father stopped him and demanded that he apologize to his mother. Instead, Arnie continued insulting him as well. His father finally lost patience and raised his hand at him. Arnie reacted angrily and quietly walked out of the house. He went straight back to Christine and decided to repair the car piece by piece once again. But what he witnessed next completely shocked him. Right before his eyes, Christine began repairing itself as if it were alive. Arnie watched in amazement and excitement. He even spoke to the car, wondering what else it was capable of doing. Within moments, Christine restored itself completely. Later that night, around midnight, a boy named Moochie, one of Buddy's gang members, stopped a truck in the middle of the road and robbed it. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a car engine approaching from a distance. Curious, he stepped forward to look more closely. The moment he recognized the vehicle, fear took over him. It was Christine. The car slowly stopped right in front of him, looking completely new and undamaged. Moochie assumed that Arnie was inside the car. He realized that Arnie must have discovered that he and Buddy were responsible for destroying Christine. Terrified, Moochie began apologizing and begged for forgiveness. The car then accelerated straight toward him at high speed. Moochie panicked and ran for his life. He quickly hid inside a narrow alley beside the road. For a moment, he believed the car had stopped chasing him. But seconds later, Christine returned and continued hunting him down. Moochie ran into an abandoned warehouse to escape. However, Christine crashed through the entrance without slowing down. Eventually, Moochie became trapped with no possible escape route. In fear, he pulled out a knife and tried to threaten the car. But Christine charged directly at him and brutally killed him. The following morning, Arnie visited Dennis and informed him about Moochie's death. Dennis was shocked after hearing the news. He could not understand how Christine had survived after being completely destroyed. The car had been badly damaged, yet somehow it had restored itself. Arnie gave no explanation and quietly left. Soon afterward, Detective Jenkins arrived to question Dennis. The detective explained that he was investigating the attack on Christine along with Moochie's murder case. Dennis claimed that he knew nothing about Moochie's death. However, he admitted that he was strangely satisfied to hear the news. Hearing this response made Detective Jenkins suspicious. He then revealed that Lee had stated the wrecked car somehow repaired itself overnight. After hearing this, Arnie silently walked away. Later, he called Lee and asked to meet her, but she refused to see him, which made Arnie even angrier. Meanwhile, Buddy and his friend Don were driving around while drunk. During the drive, they noticed another car following them closely. Buddy stopped his car to check who was behind them. However, the bright headlights prevented him from seeing the driver clearly. He then reversed his vehicle and the mysterious car also began reversing. Moments later, they realized the car chasing them was Christine. Filled with anger, Buddy sped away and stopped at a gas station where his friend Richie worked. He stepped out of the car, grabbed a metal rod, and prepared to confront the driver. Buddy was determined to teach the person inside Christine a lesson. But before he could react, Christine suddenly charged forward at full speed and slammed into Buddy's car. The collision caused major damage to the vehicle. Buddy believed Arnie was driving the car and shouted at him to come out. Instead, Christine rammed into the car again with even greater force. The impact pushed Buddy's vehicle directly into the workshop area. At the same time, gasoline began leaking from Buddy's car. Seconds later, the fuel caught fire. A massive explosion tore through the entire garage within moments. Richie was also trapped in the flames and burned to death. Seeing the chaos, Buddy desperately tried to escape. However, Christine, now completely engulfed in flames, continued chasing him. Eventually, the burning car caught Buddy and crushed him as well. His body was completely destroyed in the attack. Sometime later, Will heard the sound of a car entering the garage. When he looked outside, he saw Christine surrounded by smoke and fire damage. Will was shocked because Arnie had gone elsewhere to repair another vehicle. Will grabbed his gun and walked toward Christine to see who was inside the car. He tried opening the door, but the surface was extremely hot. Using a cloth to protect his hand, he finally managed to pull the door open. To his shock, the car was completely empty. Confused, Will slowly climbed inside Christine himself. However, this decision would cost him his life because Christine was not willing to leave any witnesses alive. Suddenly, the doors locked from the inside. Christine then violently slammed Will's head against the dashboard and killed him. The following morning, Arnie arrived at the garage and noticed several police cars outside. There, he met Detective Jenkins and learned that Will's dead body had been discovered inside the garage. Arnie claimed that he did not know how the incident happened. Still, deep down, he believed Christine was responsible because the car was once again standing perfectly repaired and shining brightly. After Dennis returned home from the hospital, Lee called him and asked to meet. During their conversation, Lee admitted that she believed Christine had completely taken control of Arnie. She explained that Arnie was behaving irrationally because of his unhealthy obsession with the car. Dennis agreed that Arnie would never normally commit such terrible acts on his own. However, if Christine truly had control over him, then the car needed to be destroyed immediately. Later that night, Lee returned home. A short time afterward, Arnie suddenly arrived in Christine. He invited Dennis to go for a drive with him. Dennis got into the car, but he quickly noticed that Arnie was acting strangely once again. Without warning, Arnie began driving at an extremely dangerous speed. He then removed both hands from the steering wheel entirely. Seeing this terrified Dennis, who shouted that Christine was completely out of control. Arnie calmly replied that nothing could ever come between him and Christine. He claimed he trusted the car completely. To prove his point, Arnie suddenly swerved into the opposite lane at full speed. The car narrowly avoided crashing into an oncoming vehicle. Dennis realized that his friend was slowly losing his sanity. The next day, Dennis scratched a message onto Christine's hood, asking Arnie to meet him at the garage that evening. That night, Dennis and Lee waited for him inside the workshop. When Arnie failed to appear, they climbed into a bulldozer parked nearby and brought it inside the garage. They planned for Lee to stay inside the office and shut the gate the moment Arnie arrived. At the same time, Dennis intended to destroy Christine using the bulldozer. Lee entered the office exactly as planned. However, neither of them realized that Christine was secretly hidden among the piles of junk inside the garage. Suddenly, the car's headlights switched on in the darkness. Christine then accelerated forward and attempted to crush Lee. Lee barely managed to save herself by grabbing onto a tire hanging from above, but Christine did not stop and prepared to attack her once again. Dennis quickly drove the excavator in front of Christine to protect Lee from being harmed. Christine then moved to the other side of the workshop, while Dennis drove the excavator in the opposite direction. Soon, the two vehicles faced each other directly. At that moment, it became clear that Christine was no longer acting alone because Arnie was now helping the car willingly. He had completely fallen under Christine's control. Suddenly, Christine's headlights turned on brightly. Within seconds, the damaged car began repairing itself once again. At the same time, the excavator suddenly stopped working. Dennis immediately tried to restart the machine. Meanwhile, Christine accelerated toward the office, determined to kill Lee. The car smashed through everything in its path as it rushed toward her. However, the violent impact suddenly threw Arnie through the windshield and onto the ground. Lee quickly ran toward him to check if he was alive, but Arnie suddenly sat up and frightened her. Unfortunately, a large shard of windshield glass had pierced his body. In his final moments, Arnie tried reaching out toward Christine. However, he soon died from his injuries right in front of the car he loved so deeply. Lee immediately tried to escape from the garage. Still seeking revenge, Christine shifted into reverse and attempted to crush her again. Lee narrowly escaped in time. Christine then crashed into a large pillar and became stuck. At that moment, Dennis finally managed to restart the excavator. He seized the opportunity and drove directly toward Christine. Dennis slammed the excavator into the car with tremendous force. Even after the attack, Christine still tried desperately to escape. The car once again turned toward Lee in another attempt to kill her. Before it could reach her, Dennis crushed Christine from behind using the excavator's claw. This heavy attack weakened the possessed car significantly. Lee quickly climbed into the excavator and pulled Dennis to safety. As they moved closer again, they noticed Christine was still trying to repair itself. Determined to end the nightmare forever, Dennis restarted the bulldozer and repeatedly crushed Christine. Even in its destroyed state, the car continued struggling to move, but this time Christine was finally completely destroyed. The deadly battle finally came to an end. The following day, Dennis and Lee met Detective Jenkins at a junkyard. There, they saw Christine reduced to nothing more than a pile of scrap metal. Eventually, all three of them left the junkyard behind. However, moments later, a small piece of Christine suddenly began moving on its own. This revealed that the evil car might still be alive. What is your dream car? Let us know in the comments. See you in the next video.